All right. So good evening, and welcome to an episode of Cracking the Code, Exploring Relationship Dynamics. My name is Hadassah Hamilton. Just a quick introduction of who I am. I'm an undergrad student at University of Southern Caribbean. I'm also by profession a police officer, and I'm also soon to be a certified mediator of Trinidad and Tobago. And with me tonight, we have Imo Bakari, and I'm going to let him introduce himself and see the many headliners under his name.
Thank you very much, Hadassah. And I feel very happy to be having this interview with this young, dynamic woman. I know she asked me to introduce myself, but I just would like to say a bit, I had the good fortune of teaching a number of courses at the University of the Southern Caribbean. And from my earliest interactions with a young woman, I could have seen, talent and, potential to be something great in Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, and the world. So I just want to let you know that, we need to support the young people of our country, of our region, of our world. And certainly, this interview here, whilst we will be discussing and sharing important bits of information with you who are located all over the world, I think it's important to always promote the youth of the world. The youth is not just the future, but they have to be prepared now and given the opportunity now. So I wanted to say that bit about her, and now I will say a bit about myself. So in a professional capacity, I have been a psychology lecturer at the University of the Southern Caribbean, located in the Maracas Valley in St. Joseph for the last 15 years. Prior to that, I started a company called Motivational Speaking International Limited, conducting training throughout Trinidad and Tobago, the Caribbean, and as I went along, I did training in North America, Canada, and a few countries in South America and Central America. And that training encompassed, developmental issues, and it spanned audiences from the grassroots level right up to business and the professional circles. I also do counseling. I also do life coaching. I'm a motivational speaker, a feature speaker, if engaged, and an author. And most importantly, a human being who is committed to creating positive change in the world. And this program here is one such example of trying to create change and trying to empower people to have a better understanding of issues, understanding of themselves, and to accept the responsibility to make a meaningful contribution to life. So these are my bits of introduction.
And thank you so very much for those thoughtful words and for sharing your own personal experience about me and improving community by large and building. Right? So we're going to a topic of relationships. And as we said, we're talking about exploring relationship dynamics. So what I would like to do is ask you a few questions and get your professional opinion on this. And I think why this is so important, especially in today's world, is that there are so many people that continuously share their opinions about relationships. And oftentimes it is just that, not built on any research, but a lot of people follow them and a lot of people take the advice and we see the results for persons just following through those people. So it is such a pleasure to have you here, someone in your capacity, someone with your credentials, someone with your knowledge base, so that we could ask some questions and get some answers from someone who I would say is a credible source. All right? So let me start
think
off one time into asking one question, going straight into the idea of communication. So tell me, how do you think in relationships one can effectively communicate with their partner to improve the quality of their relationship?
well, first and foremost, right? Let me look at see if we could establish an understanding when we talk about relationships, right? Now, by way of your introduction, the frame is a personal relationship, but there are many different types of relationships. And relationship represents a coming together of two or more persons or things having some common connection, right? Whether it's by blood, whether by marriage, whether it's by belonging to a community, an organization, you know, alignment side, you know. And in my view, you know, coming together is always crucial. But coming together is just a starting point, because relationship in any context, personal, professional, social, it's not an easy it's not an easy process to navigate, particularly if one is not taking a deep look in terms of understanding themselves and understanding others. Remember, understanding yourself is a lifelong journey. And even throughout that journey, you still would not reach a point where you understand everything about yourself, much as somebody else. Just to emphasize how difficult relationship situations can be. But of course, if we sharpen our awareness of self, if we sharpen our awareness of others, if we have a commitment to work hard, you know, without being, you know, judgmental, with an open mind in terms of really understanding you and the other party, it will be at least in the moving in the right direction to make the process much easier. For example, just to draw a little anecdote, I remember in 2011, I visited New York City to see my mother. Wasn't so well at the time. Sadly, now she's deceased, right? And I was staying by a Jamaican couple. And one day he was taking me from Long Island to downtown Brooklyn. And he was telling me that he was married for 50 years. And his expression to me, 50 hard years. Now, 50 years in a relationship is a great achievement. But he was honest and authentic to make the point that there was no walk in the park. So this is one of the mistakes many people make, you know, in believing that, you know, it is just a smooth flow or people should understand. No, you have to really work hard to understand the dynamics because they are forever changing. So I just say that bit for the moment.
And you know, as you were speaking, it reminded me once of an analogy. Once I heard someone compare relationships, especially two persons in interpersonal relationship, and they were saying consider it like a base of a mountain, each party on either side. And the whole idea is to reach that peak where they could meet. But before they get there, it takes effort on their part to climb. But the good thing is that if both parties continuously put forth the effort, at some point of time, they're going to reach the destination where they want to go ultimately, the direction that they may want in their relationship.
Well, you brought out some good things in that analogy, right? Commitment, strive, but the ability to overcome if there's the commitment, if there is the effort. Because remember, in any successful relationship, there is no absence of issues, right?
Yeah.
I would just like to quote a clinical psychologist, Dr. Thomas Gordon. He wrote a book called Leadership Effectiveness Training. And within the contents of that book, he said that if anyone is presenting the idea that the family is one big happy family, that has to be an illusion, you know. Mm-hmm. He said it has to be someone of the two parties who are suppressing their true feelings. Mm-hmm. You see, relationship could never mean an absence of conflict. Once
Yeah.
two people come together or more persons come together, conflict is inevitable. And one of the big problems in the world, many people in leadership, many people not in leadership, they tend to shy away and run from conflict. Now, we have to have skills in how we deal with conflict, all right? If we are abrasive and aggressive and with a sense of don't care attitude, well, conflict could get out of hand and become very dangerous. But if we are prepared to walk through conflict and try to benefit, because oftentimes, if you have the right mindset, through a conflict, an organization can become stronger, a relationship can become stronger. But you really need to have the right mindset for that to have the platform for that to be possible.
And I most certainly agree. Everything starts with a change in mindset. But let's go to the next topic that a lot of people who are in relationships often wonder. How can one identify when a relationship has become toxic or unhealthy? Do you have any advice in your professional capacity that can help one appreciate what indicators they are to look to or look at?
Well, that's not so complicated in the sense that, some fundamentals, right? If there's a lack of respect for either party or parties involved, if there's an unwillingness to listen, if there is, a lack of trust, I mean, that is a crucial thing because to allow a flow in a relationship, you need to have a trust in the person. If evidence presents itself suggesting that trust can be compromised, I was supposed to say you should investigate why before, many people conclude before finding out the why, right?
Mm.
So, all right, something occurred, investigate it. Have a professional approach. Sometimes, depending on what it is, sometimes emotions might be so boiling that professionalism is thrown out the window. But this is where we come back about, emotional intelligence in terms of self-awareness of the emotions that are stirring in you, your ability to know how it makes you feel physically and mentally, giving you the capacity to better manage them, and also being aware of the situation with the other party emotionally, and also being able now to manage the situation. So you have 4 components here: self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. They are all linked together, So many persons, going back to the question, if there's a lack of trust, that's a major pillar suggesting that, you're on shaky ground. A lack of respect, unwillingness or inability to listen, and most importantly, try to understand. And you wouldn't just understand by mere listening. Sometimes you have to ask questions, reframe it, clarify, to help you get a better understanding of what is happening. Mind you, as I said, if people are emotionally charged, all of those things I'm talking about will be just totally compromised. Now, there are no manuals training people to how they conduct themselves in relationship. So outside of training, which could be important, you need a lot of maturity. You need a high levels of emotional intelligence. And you need a real deep commitment that notwithstanding the challenges, things can become better. But, if parties reach a point where there's that total lack of faith, confidence, and trust, well, that toxicity will ultimately become fatal, in terms of the demise of the relationship. Now, sadly, sometimes because of people inability at no point to really manage issues, sadly, we have a situation where in the context of personal relationships, it can boil to the point where one party, and no one gives anybody the right to do that. That should never be an option. But you in your professional work, we as citizens in this country, in the Caribbean, in different parts of the world, we have heard of so many stories of relationships ending in a tragic manner, you know, and that is, you know, not desirable, but it's a reality that happens. And, you know, the society has to dig deep to get a better understanding and help to educate people, particularly the young and well, all types of persons, right? But why I said young, if we can educate them from young on these critical issues, I think we could possibly, you know, lay a good foundation to avoid complications later on.
And I like that point that you made in terms of educating the youths, but where do you believe as a society in terms of the direction one should go in terms of to begin educating the youth in terms of how can they build such things like emotional intelligence so that and self-awareness, because those things, it's not something that automatically a person knows. It's
No,
something that you must understand and learn how to
right,
and then develop it as a skill. So where do
right.
you think in terms of
But put it this
how
way,
can society really do that?
if a youth is blessed to have family members with that skill set,
Right.
that would be an enormous blessing. Because if you could start in the family circle, what a wonderful place for you to start.
Right.
Now, some people may be professionals and can provide it for their families. Some people might be blessed. Some people are blessed by nature where they are very good listeners. I have a number of friends, and I always say that these individuals have been blessed with a capacity to listen. And when you are engaging with them, you are not in doubt. They are not psychologists or anything, but you're not in doubt that they are really listening to you. You know,
Right.
that is an important skill. You know, the principles of emotional intelligence. Some people again might not have come across no formal training, but they are very aware. You know, they are very observant. You know, of self, of others. You know, they're very empathetic. You follow? They walk in another man's shoes. Then you know, and that is always an important thing to help. But in a more formal sense, you know, lots of the stuff that we teach in the school system, I will say, I'm not saying they are totally irrelevant, but we need to really equip um, students from the very youngest stage with critical life skills, right? So, you know, sex education, health education, mental health, right? So health, yes, the physical health is emphasized, but, you know, the mental health is only now since COVID-19, you know, more institutions, countries, etc., have recognized how central that is. Mental health should be a compulsory subject in all schools,
Yes.
from preschool right up to university, and structured in a level where people can follow. Teaching
Yeah.
people to understand themselves at an emotional level, at a mental level, you know, social relationships, you understand? We have to inculcate those things and create a culture that sadly doesn't exist now to help people really become, you know, effective human beings. Because the research from many studies have, you know, made the point that the people who tend to be most successful in life are high in emotional intelligence, right? So you have, for example, you have many individuals, high IQ, all right? You have many billionaires who don't have one iota of, you know, training, technical or otherwise, but who just probably are born entrepreneurs. Their IQ may be way lower than the people they employ. So they are the owners, they are the creators of, you know, business enterprises, and they are employing the people with the high IQ. I remember
Yeah.
in some of my studies on emotional intelligence, a particular example, they said this student in a book called Emotional Intelligence for Dummies. This guy was well, his top grade was a C, and he celebrated when he got a C. But you know what? He was the go-to man in the school. Anything is happening. If it doesn't pass through him, well, you know, the chances of success might be high, you know. And that skill, you know, it was not a skill taught to him, but he was blessed with that kind of capacity, which, you know, is a reflection of a high level of intelligence, not in the traditional way. You follow? So
Yeah.
the point I'm making, these kinds of skill sets that if we could bring it out, help people identify them, help it to be leveraged, and help people to use it, it will help. It will really help people develop in a way to make them really fantastic. Now, some people are more by personality, by nature, aligned to have those kind of tendencies. So others, for example, a person who probably is brilliant at computer programming, and might be weak in social skills and that kind of stuff, and might just want to be in a location and just rolling out their work. You know what I mean? So such a person mightn't be the one to probably lead an organization where you have to manage so many different personalities, so many dynamics and people and that kind of thing. They mightn't have that kind of emotional profile to give them that kind of capacity to be effective. So I would say we need the right teachers at all levels, formal school, informally in community, in organizations, in NGOs, etc., to really train people and give them these kind of fundamental skills. I think that could go a long, long way in helping to turn the tide. Right?
I definitely agree with that comment that you just said. And as you were saying, that a big, big topic in terms of, I touched on it earlier on, social media. What impact do you find, if any, that social media has in relationship? And if so, you know, delve on it. Let's hear your opinion and let's hear based on the
Well,
information and your observation.
social media is an inescapable fact of life now, right? It's an inescapable, right? It can be productive. It could also be very destructive, right? So I remember in the early years when Facebook, now came out and I doing lectures and, I used to be on the negative side in terms of, some of the kind of content I used to be seeing people putting forward, and I always used to be amazed why so many persons are just, spitting out personal details, exposing themselves, etc. I would say, well, what is really happening here? But again, people have gotten a platform. Some people use it appropriately. Some people use it inappropriately. And I remember at one time, a narrative was particularly strong or became strong in the sense that, whatever you put there, if you are not careful, it is always there. Remember, whatever you delete can always be recovered, right?
Yeah.
And serious employers, they investigate your social media profile. And I mean, if it is not professional, you could really be compromised in terms of finding employment, your professional image, that kind of stuff. So specifically to the angle I think you are pointing at, if you become so engrossed in the use of social media that your responsibilities in a relationship to husband, to wife, to children, to whoever is important in the family circle is so compromised that social media is the number one thing, but they have a major problem, right? And we know it's a reality now. You could say that many people are married to social media, given the hours that they spend. Now, if it's hours spent looking to find work or create work, I guess we might be able to put that in a different context and excuse that. But if it's just hours spent, scrolling, with nothing with a particular focus of development, etc., I mean, that could become a red huge, huge problem, And as we all know, you will know in your professional capacity, if people are not careful of the information that they are putting out, they could make themselves victims of crime, all right? And they could really jeopardize their safety, their family's safety, and put themselves in an untenable situation. And as you will know, many persons, because of a lack of awareness of what they're doing on social media, have met their deaths. We have had a number of stories where people initiated business deals. And when they went to conduct the business deal, what happened? They were no more. They were no more, right? So, it could really, really compromise a relationship where, the key parties, a key party or other parties in the relationship are no longer significant because the person's presence on social media is what as I said before, they are now married to, and that could become a major problem. That could really, disrupt a relationship.
And as we're on the topic of social media, do you think that couples should have some sort of similar value system when it pertains to social media? Do you believe that is a topic for conversation that is of importance in this time that we are living?
Well, but people have different value system, and we know we have always heard about compatibility, which has a lot of logic in it, right? But even though, because how to put it, everyone wouldn't line up in what you call perfect compatibility, right? But again, from the very beginning, if the parties didn't really explore their individual value system in terms of understanding, if that wasn't explored at all, you could have a lot of unnecessary clashes because it was never explored. And there are wide differences. You follow? So differences, having differences, all right, no big thing. But understanding them, appreciating them, or at least trying to come to terms with them could help. But if at many times, people might become connected and that wasn't a pillar area that was explored. So, you're seeing where you're going to have problems down the line. As I said, problems are not to be, run away from, but to be explored. But we need a lot of hard work, You will always hear, people saying professionally and even unprofessionally that relationship requires a lot of hard work, And you see that value thing is a crucial thing, right? But if we can work through them, if we can explore them, right, from the very beginning, probably might put us in a better position to know if to move forward or not, right? Because obviously, if you take it out of the personal realm, if you think about organization, there are wide variances in terms of people's thinking. Now, many organizations have a constitution in terms of having a discipline and an order to guide people. It doesn't mean that all their values coincide, but I just given that as an illustration to show that you need to have some level of commonality to hold a discipline, right? But, people values can vary and people must be compatible. There can be unity in diversity, but it will require understanding, it will require exploration. Otherwise, that diversity could become very catastrophic because there's a total lack of understanding of each party's value base.
And speaking of value base, just to build on that same idea, one of our popular Calypsonian had sung some point of time, a horn is only a horn only if you take it on. Infidelity now has become such a big thing and a big topic in terms of relationships, and we're speaking specifically personal relationships. How do you think, first of all, two questions. Do you think a couple can survive, a relationship can survive infidelity? And if so, how? Or build or rekindle trust, which distrust came into the relationship?
Well, they can't survive it, but it will depend on one of the parties being willing to really work through all the factors that will have led to it and having a heart of forgiveness, giving that understanding to give it a try again. So we go back to values. Some people have a value system that is a no-no. And if it is to occur, they are out, right? Now, if from the beginning, both of the parties are aware of that, I guess it could help nullify a lot of situations. But oftentimes, none of the parties are aware of how they will deal with such a situation. Now, dealing with difficult situations in a relationship, even theoretically, could be useful, right? In terms of scenarios. Not that you get into a relationship for any such occurrence to occur, but these things do occur, you know. So if we get more comfortable in exploring difficult situations of what life can bring, I think it can be very, very, very useful. But with no kind of understanding of where people stand on these issues, and with emotions running wild, sometimes a party in the relationship, as we have seen reported in the news all over the world, it ends in a very deadly way, which is destructive for surviving parties. People have children, they have family, that trauma to work through is no easy kind of situation. So yes, people can survive it, but oftentimes, it could be very devastating, in terms of rocking the foundations in a way that some people walk away, right? And if in working through the trust is not established with some level of base, sometimes it might not be able to reestablish when you're walking on quicksand. You follow? But people have survived it. Some people have walked away from it. People have survived it. But you will need professional help to work through that. Leaving the parties to work through it may not necessarily be the best way. If two individuals are able to work through that and get back on a relatively strong footing, a lot of credit will have to be given to them for reaching that point. But we know that could be a very dicey situation, And I think, these kind of issues need to be discussed more because they happen in life, and society must not be afraid to discuss relationships, because remember I started out by saying, we taking a slant of a personal relationship, but look, if we look at Trinidad and Tobago, we have different ethnic groups here, and relationship among the ethnic groups is a kind of discussion that many parties are unwilling to discuss publicly in a mature way, right? You have a lot of unhealthy discussions behind the scene that those discussions do not contribute to producing a strong society. You follow? It definitely, the level of discussion certainly does not help. The kind of terms people use to describe groups, the kind of jokes they may make. You follow? Election season, the kind of conversations, sometimes behind closed doors, and that is a relationship too. That's an important relationship. So that I said, we have to look at social relationship, economic relationship, personal relationship. All these types of relationships are very important. The relationship between our government and its citizens. If the citizens don't have trust in the government, it certainly it will compromise the effectiveness of governance. You follow where I'm coming from? So you see, when we broaden the discussion of relationship, no matter the nature of the relationship, the principles remain the same. The principles remain the same.
So true. And I'm really enjoying this discussion because relationship, as you said, it's so diverse. It's such a big topic, and it's such a dynamic. But speaking about relationship, how do you feel someone in a relationship, and we're talking about a personal relationship here,
Right.
can maintain their own individuality within that relationship? Because you were also talking about the importance of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. How do you believe that can be accomplished?
Put it this way, all right? When two people come together, they have to think about the collective probably more than the personal. But they are still an individual, right? The two individuals coming together and trying to merge to make the collective stronger. But these individuals, right, for example, if you, a person like to read a lot, right? Reading is very important to mental development. As Dr. Ben Carson noted, world-renowned neurosurgeon said, reading is the exercise for the mind. And the brain once stretched by an idea is never the same again, right? And we know that the more you engage mentally, is the more it fosters neural connections, is the more you help yourself to ward off, onset of diseases such as Alzheimer's, etc. And why should you now in a relationship now, for the relationship, not be able to continue being a reader? Now, I'm not saying that there are certain situations where your reader may have to take a backseat because depending on what the issues are, you need to put more time and attention because that at the point in time, everything else will become minor to that, But I just use that as an illustration, right? If a person like to dance, all right, let us suppose they cannot dance with the regularity as before. But why should they not continue dancing? I want to say that it's about different types of dancing. So, I don't know if you're thinking of a particular, based on that example, but a person might be a ballet dancer, a person might be a ballroom dancer. So, right, let us say as an individual before marriage, they were doing it 5 times a month. They mightn't be able to do it 5 times a month, but they could do it once a month because this is a love of the person. And if both parties appreciate that, say, right, once a month or maybe twice a month might be a reasonable compromise. So I can't see how you could separate a lot of individual characteristics or likes about yourself because of the relationship. I mean, we all have to identify what we're speaking about in a specific way and weigh it in the context of, how it impacts the relationship along the different scales. You know what I mean? In a positive way, in a negative way, in a moderate way. We have to look at that. But maintaining a sense of individuality, I cannot see that just being thrown out of the window because you're in a relationship.
So true. I really enjoyed all the points that you give because, just listening, some of the things, they're so practical and that's the reality of life. You are an individual before you met the person. And as you see, it's really about effectively communicating. It's really about both parties and their willingness to put forth the effort to ensure that each person is well pleased. And as you said, the principles that could be applied in personal relationships can really help in all other relationships when we really take away the principle behind it and apply them into our life. So, I just want to thank you. Thank you so very much. This has brought us to the end of this discussion in terms of relationships, but hopefully we get the opportunity to discuss with you again because, just to dig a little deep on relationship, one of the things I really want to discuss and get your opinion on another occasion though, is the special types of relationship that we have within the Caribbean, and I'd say an extension that we also take a lot of and imitating a lot of the relationships from North America and other places. For example, I see in terms of the bisexual relationship, polygamy relationship, and those things are becoming such a norm now in our society amongst our young people. And, as you say, conflicts borderline, it really doesn't matter the type of relationship that we have. So
yeah, well, I know this is a topic for certainly that's what you mentioned is a topic for a whole discussion.
A whole discussion, yes.
So the start now might just take us into
we don't want to start now. We're gonna take away the points that we took from this discussion right now in terms
Right.
of,
Yeah.
in
So,
terms of
right. But,
how. Go ahead.
right. So what I want to say is that, look, we have to continue discussing this, right? We have just scratched the surface in terms of how far and how deep we need to go. I guess we will have a ongoing series, as you were suggesting, and I certainly support you on that. But just to say and ending here that, relationships are the key to success in life, right? We have heard a lot of acronyms and terminologies that all point to the power of relationship. For example, we have heard about team, right? Together, everyone achieves more. That the fundamental to that is relationship. If you do have relationship, you do have team. All right. We have heard that no man is an island. All again linking back to the need for relationship. We have heard about unity and diversity. So just tying it back to a lot of things we said before. All right. People have different values, but we have to work through it. If we don't work through them, that unity and diversity gonna become very poisonous. All right. So if you are to become successful, or if you have become successful, it was always on the basis of a relationship. Right?
So
The student had a relationship with the teacher. The employees have a relationship with supervisors and managers. All right. Anyhow you look at it, relationships are the key. Right? You might be very good at what you do, but if you can't communicate well and relate well with people, you will have poor relationships. And with all your great skill, you wouldn't reach far. Right? You mightn't be too qualified, but let us suppose you're very strong in how you relate. You will become a factor in that organization because you have the ability to foster relationships. Right? As you know, as we know in the Caribbean here, the saying is that what you know about who you know. But some people are good at building relationships, building networks, etc. So the more you can relate well, your chances of success are higher, whether it's a personal relationship, a working relationship, whatever it is, your chances of success is higher. So this question of relationship and this discussion, certainly we need to continue having it and really digging deep. So I support you in your suggestion, and I'll be more than willing to continue this discussion with you, Ms. Hadassah Hamilton.
really appreciate it. And thank you so very much for taking the time out.
And just before we end, sorry for cutting there, just before we end, we like to encourage all our listeners and viewers to subscribe to this channel. This channel has been bringing messages to you that are vital for your personal business or any other type of development. And certainly we want to encourage you to continue to support in our work. Those who have supported us, we thank you wholeheartedly. Those who are hearing us for the first time, well, you can make your pick, and I think your pick will be a positive pick to continue to support this work by subscribing to the channel, by liking the video, sharing and commenting on it. And also feel free and support us if you feel so inspired so that we can upgrade the content, we can upgrade our equipment, etc. by way of any financial contribution that you would like to make. We certainly will welcome it. And you can continue doing that in whatever way you see fit, and we will be very thankful for the support. So thank you all for tuning in to this interview, and we certainly look forward to having ongoing discussions with you. Thank you very much.
Most definitely. Thank you again so much.